I tell my story in a podcast called 1,000 Ruby Bridges, and I talk about how vicious white folks are and what they did to me as a 5-year-old integrating DC public schools. Traumatized me, and I've never gotten over that.
And you share that in your podcast.
Do I ever? And I always post a question to white women: what's wrong with you all that you would see a 5-year-old child as a threat, that you would harass me every day walking to school by myself and call me a nigger from your doorstep, from your yard, from your gate. I'm going to the first grade.
And this is in D.C. This is in Washington, D.C.
Yes, right off of Texas Avenue.
Yeah, a lot of people would find that hard to believe only because they associate D.C. as Chocolate City.
Because they don't know any better. They have no clue what D.C. was to black people and anything about D.C. in the late 40s, 50s, and what it meant to black people with education. That black folks from the South with an education came to D.C. because it was Mecca. D.C. had the best black high school in the world. Dunbar High School was #1 in the world for black folks.
Okay.
Dunbar High School was the #1 in the world.
Okay.
Not in D.C. Not
in everywhere.
Yeah, because it had more PhDs, black PhDs, anywhere else because they had nowhere else to go. See, they came to D.C. because of Howard University, but Howard couldn't absorb them all.
Okay.
So the proximity of Dunbar High School to Howard University, and keep in mind, that's the neighborhood that Paul Laurence Dunbar lived in.
So that's why they named it Dunbar.
It's his neighborhood.
So with Dunbar, from there, you saw all of these successful black people coming out of
That's where they went, because this is segregation. It's during segregation, yeah. So, but still, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the 30s and 40s. I started public school in 1954.
Okay, 54.
In 1954, and them white folks did not want to do that. They did not want to do that. So, from 1954 to 1960, the whole city turned over.
Okay. So 54 to 60, it turned over.
It turned completely over.
Would you say that was a benefit for the city? Or how would you say?
Benefit for the city. The city, a benefit for the city? It meant that black folks moved uptown. It meant that black folks were mobile.
Okay.
You know, they were already there. They had government jobs and a paycheck every 2 weeks. You know?
Yeah.
But it meant that their children were in hostile environments with these crazy white folks that didn't want to see you coming and did all kinds of foolishness. We were the first brown-skinned black people, because usually when places are integrated, they open first to the lighter-skinned blacks.
Okay.
So in D.C., color, caste, and class came into play. So you have the headquarters of the Boule in D.C., and that's a real thing, and that's real. That's real. So I don't know if Daddy knew or what when he bought our house at 14th in Colorado, that he was putting us
in the middle of that.
Ambiguous looking black folks.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so they can go.
Ambiguous looking black folks who pride themselves in being ambiguous.
I was to see that's a whole nother conversation right there too.
It's so
because some people don't believe that thing is real. They think that this stuff is. So you lived through all, because the brown paper bag and all that kind of stuff. Did you see all of that stuff?
Did I see it? I lived it. I'm just trying to tell you that I lived in a neighborhood of ambiguous looking black folks who loved being ambiguous looking, with long pigtails down their backs and peachy complexion, green eyes, and red hair and all that. I grew up around it.
How do you think that affected you growing up?
My family was fiercely proud. Fiercely proud. So much so until they had a big powwow around the dining room table and said, when you go to school, you're taking mama, daddy, grandma, granddaddy, Uncle John, Uncle Clint, Aunt Vera. You're taking all of us with you. Remember that.
Yeah.
So not only was I immaculate, they did another step.
Okay.
Okay, so my ribbons match my socks.
Got it.
Every day.
Got it. Got it.
My clothes were starched and ironed. My hair was braided fresh every day. Every day. They're not playing. It was serious. It was serious. You're gonna do your lesson. If me and Daddy gotta sit up, and both of my parents taught school.
Okay.
Then I had 7 aunts and uncles that were teachers too. So report card time was really traumatic for me, because all these people I had to talk to over the phone.
Because you represented everybody.
Everybody.
Cousin so-and-so.
Oh my God.
Everybody.
That was
people you
man.
didn't even know you were
representing.
Man. So when you went through that, I'm sure your grades were perfect.
No, they weren't.
Okay.
They weren't, because I'm a creative. I'm smarter now than I was as a kid, because I had all of this stuff I've learned. But being in a hostile environment where your teacher would not acknowledge you, what they did is called benign neglect.
Oh wow!
So you're sitting in there in the 2nd grade. I asked the teacher. They haven't called on me yet.
Still to this day.
To this day.
And what does that do to you as a person?
Oh man. I detest them thinking about what they did. How much that hurt, that humiliation, that embarrassment, what they did. May they rot in hell, every last one of them. That's how I feel about it.
And it's real.
You don't do children like that. You don't traumatize. And it's a whole. When I talk to my friends who were born in 1948 and who started school because of the Supreme Court decision of 1954. Oh, they tell you about how white teachers slapped them in the face and called them names and stuff. So the teachers not calling on me was just that passive aggressive stuff. But the one thing that I recall most of all was that, after you raise your hand, so what do you say? Teacher, teacher. So I'll remember in the 1st grade, Miss Ahern wrote a letter. Dear Mrs. Hope, Vera is very talkative. She causes a problem in class every day, and would you please talk to her? So she's writing this note like 10 o'clock in the morning. She writes, folds it up, gets a safety pin, and pins it to my clothes.
So that's your label. You've been labeled.
That's my scarlet letter. I got to walk around all day with this big note pinned to my clothes. Mary Ahern, may you burn in hell for that. All day long. Then I got to come home.
And now you got to deal with whatever's coming. So that was elementary school.
That's in the 2nd grade. That's when my parents moved from Benning Heights, and Benning Heights in 1952, 53, 54 was where the newly hired black bus drivers, police officers, postal employees all lived. That's a black community, and it was framed by Coral Heights, East Capitol Street still was white.
Okay.
Texas Avenue still white. Pennsylvania Avenue, Alabama on that side of Benning, that's still white. That's still white. So we're surrounded.
I was going to say, so it's like,
by hostile white.
You were like a little colony within the middle of
and the bus stop there, the H2 Benning Heights, that's the end of the line.
And so then you had to deal with all of that.
I'm telling you, people don't have no idea of the underpinning of the hatred in that town, what it's like to grow up under segregation, to shop under segregation, to go to the circus under segregation and the carnival.
Like my generation has no clue.
Excuse me?
My generation has no clue. We are so clueless.
And the thing about it is, unfortunately, what people like me in their 70s, mid 70s, pushing the 80s, nobody asks us, nobody wants to hear it, or they just, well, that was then, you know, and they have no idea of what we went through to get y'all.
Yeah, I
you know,
get it. I get
you have no idea. Let me give you an example.
Break it down.
Okay, so if you're familiar with DC,
I am.
Okay, now I'm going to take you to 14th and Colorado.
Okay.
The streetcar used to turn around there. That's the end of the line for the 14th and Colorado line. In 1950, starting 57, 58, 59, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Ghana all got their independence. Guess where they moved, where the embassies were?
Oh.
Right there on Colorado Avenue, between 16th and 14th.
Okay.
So as a child, I saw all the dignitaries. They didn't see us.
Interesting.
They saw us, but
Didn't see.
they didn't see us. We weren't acknowledged.
Why was that? Why do you think you weren't acknowledged?
We were in the neighborhood, and we're black. And the Safeway was right there on 14th, right beside the car barn where the streetcar turned around. There was a Safeway right there. And we would be in the Safeway. I'm in there with my mother and everything. So the dignitaries would come in there, and their gaze was not no eye to eye. How are you? You know, we didn't exist.
What was that? Was that a classism thing?
At the time, we were offended. That hurt. You know, we were there.
Yeah.
This is where we live. We were there. You're new to the neighborhood.
Yeah, and you're coming and acting like this.
Because you are associated with these folks who are hostile to us.
Got it.
You're talking to them. You're not even acknowledging our existence.
Got it. So I wonder what that is. Yeah, wonder where that comes from.
I mean, we've been dealing with these crazy folks. Let me give you an example. Rock Creek Park, 1 block from my house. Carter Barron Amphitheater, 2 blocks from my house. So when Johnny Mathis, Percy Faye, Paul Anka, and all of them appeared at the car, they had to walk past our house or park on my block and all. We lived close enough to hear the music, but we couldn't go. So we got to sit on our porch and watch all these white people drive past our house going up to the Carter Barron. But let me tell you what the white people did who were left in the neighborhood. Because as soon as we moved in, because they scrambling to leave, you know, because we're the contagion. We're bringing the blue blonic plague or something, you know.
The values of the homes down and all that.
But it's funny how anybody knows that once black folks make middle class and they move into white neighborhoods, they have better furniture, they have better things.
Okay.
Because we have we aspire to the American dream. So when we coming in there, we got better clothes and shoes and brand appliances and all of that, you know. But they're looking at us like we're bringing our house look better than you. Okay, so this is what happened. So in the summertime, you know, we'll be sitting out on our porch with porch furniture, not with a sofa from inside the house or a dining room chair. We have porch furniture. Okay, so we're sitting outside or whatever, not eating outside or anything. And let me tell you about that. My grandmother said, if you want to eat watermelon, you eat it two places, either in the dining room or out on the back deck. You're never to eat watermelon on the front
Because of the
porch.
stereotype.
And we ate watermelon on a plate
And not
with a knife and a fork.
And not with that.
If my grandmother ever saw anybody with their face in a slice of watermelon, it was hell to pay. It was hell to pay, because she went on about those postcards that were out, you know, in the 20s and 30s with little black children in their faces. And to this day, there are years and years and years that go by. I don't even eat watermelon. I can almost count the times I bought a watermelon in my life. I'm so traumatized by
Watermelon.
Watermelon. But anyway, the white people who were left in the neighborhood would come around the corner, and our house was the fourth house from the Safeway from the corner. So they would get here, cross the street, pass our house, and cross back over, jaywalking across the traffic, so they wouldn't have to pass our house. That's how foolish.
And
they
this
are.
was going. And what years was this? The 50s?
We moved in 1955.
Okay, and then going into the 60s then.
By 61, everybody was gone, with the exception of about 3 white families. Everybody had cleared out. In that 5 years, they're gone.
Now, how many children do you have, if any?
How many children do I have today?
Yes, if any.
I have 4 grown sons. The oldest one is
boys.
52.
Wow.
The oldest one is 52.
Okay.
The youngest one is 41.
Okay. So what did you teach them about all of this?
Everything.
Yeah, I can tell they got it
Everything.
uncut growing up. It was,
Everything. Yeah. My children are very they're black nationalists.
Okay.
They're Hebrew. They went to African Liberation Day. I had one in a stroller, one on my back, and I'm carrying a placard around the South African embassy,
So they were raised in it.
demonstrating against apartheid. They went with me to see Nelson Mandela in L.A. when we lived in L.A. My children know African Liberation Day like they observed that like it's Christmas Eve. That was when we look forward to African Liberation Day. Yeah, because my children are Tendaji Malik, Tyari Ade, Tioki Askari, and Tafari Amiri.
So you didn't give them
No.
colonized names?
No, I did not.
Yeah.
And their initials are all the same, TAW.
Okay.
So, well, anyway, my children, by the time they got of age, they went to see Minister Farrakhan together as brothers, because they were for men only thing. And I would tell the oldest, okay, you're in charge. Your brothers go see Minister Farrakhan, and you better go. And when you come back, you better tell me what he said.
Did they go to the Million Man March?
Let me see where
95.
they in town. They were in California.
Okay.
I was at the Million Man March.
Okay, so you remember that day.
Oh, I was there. I got there about 4 in the morning in the dark, and I saw them step off to what's going on. Were you there?
I was there.
In the morning when the music came on.
I wasn't out that early.
Let me tell you. You know that scene in X.
Yes.
When they snapped to attention, Denzel did that.
Yes.
When the sun came up that morning, I'm in the bushes because I didn't want to be disrespectful because I'm not supposed to be there. So I'm like peeking from behind. Yeah, I'm doing like this. Okay. Just as the sun came up, now I'm there at the the Labor Department, the National Gallery of Art, the Canadian Embassy, right there where Pennsylvania Avenue and Constitution meet. So I'm right there, okay? And just as the sun came up, somebody cued Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. You know that intro? That intro.
Yeah.
And when they did, they snapped to attention. I thought my heart would leave my body. I swear.
Because of
the majesty of thousands of black men in suits and bow ties and beautiful overcoats, not overcoats, but all weather coats and suits, and just on cue. And they hit attention when what's going on. I'm just like, you know what? This is almost too much to take. I swear, that in itself was the most majestic thing I've ever seen. God knows I've seen some things in my life.
That was it.
But for me to see that, to actually see that, I'm like, my God, look at this. There's hope. We're gonna. I don't know when we're gonna do something because the majesty of that moment.
Yeah.
Nobody was young, no discord,
the whole day. The whole experience.
And the odd thing about it, I spent the day talking to Reverend Wiley Burton.
Okay.
Reverend Wiley Burton was the husband of the great Nancy Wilson.
Really?
We just happened to meet in the crowd. We sat there all day long. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? And everybody was there. Everybody was there.
Everybody was there. I was so glad to be there. But let me tell you this, because of my age and the fact that I grew up in D.C., my first demonstration was in 1958 in support of the Little Rock Nine. My mother took me down to Constitution Avenue where Harry Belafonte and Coretta Scott King were leading the march because that was when MLK had gotten stabbed.
Okay.
And so he was in the hospital, so she led the march. And I recall being there in Constitution Hall, and Mrs. King was in that sitting in the convertible, sitting on the, you know how you sit on the back like the trunk. And so as the car went by, Mama said, "Baby, there she is." And I smiled at her, and she leaned over and shook my hand. I'll never forget that.
You'll never forget it.
I'll never
forget it. And you
forget.
lived a lot of the things that we hear about.
I was there. I was there for the March on Washington. They interviewed me for Oprah magazine. And I tell the story about why people in D.C. didn't go. Because the undercurrent in D.C. was that the white folks were going to shoot folks down from Federal Triangle.
Oh.
My grandmother called crying on the phone.
Said, "Please don't go.
Please don't go. Please don't go." We were all dressed to go, and she was on the phone crying, telling my mama don't go. And while she on the phone crying, my uncle from New York came in the door like, "Y'all ready?" You know. And grandma said, is that Clinton? Put him on the phone. Don't y'all go down there. And she crying. And he said, "Mama, I came all the way from New York. We can go down." She said, "Please don't go. Please don't go. Y'all going to get killed."
She must have really.
Oh, she was hysterical.
So you didn't go?
Oh, we went.
Oh, you went?
We told Mama we got to go.
You went?
We got to go. I was crying. Everybody was crying. We went out the door crying. We got to go. We got to go. We going.
But we don't hear these stories. You know? Me coming here, this is what I tell people.
Do you know how unpopular that march was?
I don't. I don't. Because they commercialized it. They've commercialized it.
King was unpopular.
I understood that later on in life.
No, he was unpopular.
Yeah.
You know, the rank and file didn't support King. Only the radicals.
That's what I'm going to say, because he wasn't popular among us.
So how many radicals you think there was in 1958? There wasn't many. They were even they were communist leaning, intellectuals. The average government worker in D.C. didn't support.
So it's similar to today on many levels if you start thinking about it. But but that's the thing. Our generation, didn't get this. Now you gave it to your boys. But most of us, it was systems that were
because they weren't a part of it. Because the average black person now wants their people to think that they were part of it. But if you question people more than 5 minutes, you find out they weren't. There's something that they read. They weren't there.
And that's what I realized.
They were not there. Yeah.
But that's why many of us are searching now. because we know that there's a missing piece to the puzzle. So I have to come, I'm over here in Africa now, having a conversation with you about what happened in America. You understand? You see how that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But see, what's important is that I get to tell you my truth, which is unpopular. See, I was looked upon as being a radical and really on the lunatic fringe, even by my own family.
A whole lot of people.
Yeah, even by my own, even now, even today.
Because you in Africa.
People here want to know you mean to tell me you left? You can't, why? I have to invite you over to my, invite you over to my house. I'm just down the street.
Okay.
Because when people walking in there, they say,
but they don't know your story. They don't know your story. That's the deal.
When they walk in and they look around and like, you got all this Africa and stuff in there? You think I came 10,000 miles to have some imitation French prevention hooked in my house? Do you really think?
Some people do it though.
I know.
You know how they do it.
Yeah, you gotta come.
I am.
So if I had known that you were coming, I really would have pulled out all the stops and cooked in the whole 9 yards.
Well, I'm gonna come back.
Because that's how I do. See, my birthday is November 6th, and we last year we just packed the place
you set it off.
and we make it do what it do.
Make it do what it
We
do.
make it do what it do, you know. And Ken is like a daughter to me. Ken and Charles are like my children.
Yeah.
Oh, those are my children. Because I ran into them last year at a health food store, and they came up to me and said, "Where you from?" I said, "DC," and we embraced, and the rest is history. And I brought them here, introduced them to everybody.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so that's how it goes. But I want to say that. The major paradigm shift in my life was when I met H. Rap Brown, who brought me into the struggle. And I joined SNCC and was in the D.C. SNCC office with Stokely, who was Stokely Carmichael at the time before he was Kwame Ture, every day. And so people ask me, you know, at his testimonial just before he died, well, tell us, what was your job? What did you do? I said, I had the most important job of everybody. I said, but what was that? I got his lunch every day. I went to Ben's Chili Bowl and got his his chili cheeseburger, 2 chili cheeseburgers. Then I left there and walked to the Florida Avenue Grill and got his peach cobbler. That's what I did every day, okay?
Florida Avenue Grill. Yeah. Every day.
Every day. That's what I did, you know. So, you know, it just hurts me. It just hurts me that he's not here to be the president of this nation that we would like to build here.
Okay.
He should be here. He should be here. He was the greatest. He was the greatest leader, and the only reason that I'm alive today is because he didn't say, we're going to die today at noon. Had he given that word,
everybody that would have been in.
That's it.
We
That
was a struggle because you were part of it. That's what you knew.
That's it. Okay. Bye, y'all.
And you were ready to do it.
The only person I would have given my life under his direct, it would have been under his direction.
Under Stokely Carmichael.
Because he was devoted. He was the consummate leader. He was knowledgeable. He was devoted. He was morally superior to young men of his time.
Okay.
Every day he took me home from the office. Not took me home, see you later, drop me off, and let me park the car, walk me up to my parents' house, rang the doorbell, they opened the door, he walked in. And if my grandmother was there and whatever, she just loved him, you know, because he was such a gentleman.
I was going to say,
come sit down, baby, have some pound cake.
I mean, he seemed like a very, even though he was very powerful in his delivery,
he was,
but there was another side that you could see of him. There was just, you could see a gentle side.
He was marvelous. He was, and I go to battle when anybody says anything contrary.
What was his relationship like with King and X and others of that time?
I got involved in SNCC the summer of 1967. That's Black Power just taking off.
Yeah. That's when it's.
Just taking over. It's rap and the
67.
torch to.
So that's 67. That was the year before King was killed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta tell you about that. So I met rap, and that's a whole nother long story. And from the time I met him at the New School of Afro-American Thought, and everybody Google New School of Afro-American Thought, Washington, D.C. It's on YouTube. Wonderful documentary that I'm a part of. The best kept secret of where black intellectuals all over came from. Shirley Du Bois to Alex Haley to Mama Baraka to Donnell Lee to Garvey's son, and just anybody you could think of, Sterling Brown, and CLR James.
Just everybody.
Everybody came through there. It was where I got my black consciousness.
In SNCC, in that whole environment.
Yeah, because they all came there. Lerone Bennett had just wrote Before the Mayflower. Sam Greenlee, a Black Rage, Dr. Cobb, Black Rage. They all.
That just during that whole time.
You all gotta listen to that documentary, New School of Afro-American Thought, please.
New School of Afro-American
Thought. Yeah, it's on YouTube. Well, anyway, so I would go there for classes, and Dr. Frances Welsing attended classes there too.
Oh, wow.
This is before.
Okay.
This is in '67. This is before she came out with the ISIS paper. Also. A person that I met at the time by the name of Johnny Marcel, that you all know as Ashaka Musa Barashango.
Okay,
I met him
1967.
1967.
67, that must have been a powerful
67.
year. That was the year.
67 was a pivotal year because it was the setup before that 68. If I could get in a time machine,
you'd go back to 67.
I gotta do it one more time.
I
gotta do it one more time. That's 67.
I'm going with you.
Oh my God, 67. See, I'm 18 years old. So something was in the air, but I don't have a frame of reference to know what it was. I know something was in the air. It was you could just palpable. You could feel it. It was exciting. It was exhilarating. It was building. Yeah, and it was building. Malcolm has just been dead not quite 2 years. Okay, so we're still marching about Malcolm's birthday and stuff. That was a big deal. I went to New York for Malcolm's birthday and stuff. We're marching down Lenox Avenue, and stuff. So Imamu Baraka, who I named my youngest son after, would come to the New School at least once a month to read.
Oh, really?
And I heard him sing, "Who shall survive America? Very few Negroes and no crackers at all."
So So this was
67.
Setting up for 68.
Setting up for 68. But see, Newark kicked it off because Newark exploded that summer of 67. And that's when the Imam guy got hurt.
Okay.
You got to Google Beautiful Black Woman by Leroy Jones and the Spirit House Movers. You got to hear that. And Black is Beautiful Black by Leroy Jones. You got to
these are things I'm telling you.
This is before the Black Power Conference.
Nobody taught us this. We don't know.
I'm getting ready to get deep with you.
I see. I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. October 1968, towards a Black University Conference, Howard University. Be there.
Okay, so
Be there. That's
1968.
That's when the Black Studies Department was initiated. They gave birth to it.
Now this was after King though. 68, right? October 68. This is after King.
Yeah, after
Okay.
King. Oh, that's right. I'm ahead of myself. Let me go back.
Okay, all right.
Let me go back. Let me go back to March. Let me go back to the last week of March, 1968. MLK came to D.C. He had a speaking engagement at the National Cathedral, but he wanted to meet with the community leaders to discuss the Poor People's March. He had this plan that he wanted to convene a Poor People's March in support of a living wage, and he had this idea of erecting a poor people's campsite down on the mall. So there was in attendance Jesse Jackson, James Bevel, Hosea Williams, Andrew Young, Jesse Jackson, Ralph Abernathy, and MLK. So I came in with my leader,
Stokely Carmichael. Yeah.
who was King's golden boy. You know, King had his cadre, and his cadre was Julian Bond,
Okay.
Jesse Jackson,
Andy Young.
Andrew Young, Stokely Carmichael.
So they were actually
Were
getting
his
along.
cadre
Okay.
as young men.
Okay.
As young men. But Stokely was in number one position because he was the sharpest and the smartest and the most articulate. Your boy was nowhere to be found. What's his name? John Lewis. Everybody putting him up in it.
Okay.
He was like the stepchild.
Okay.
He was on the fringes because
Okay.
you know he wasn't on the level with
He was younger.
with it.
I would think he was considerably younger than they were.
No, not really.
Really? Okay.
Because they all were born. I'm born in 48, so they were born like in 41, 42, 43. They was like 3-4 years ahead of me. So as I'm going to college, they're coming out.
Got it.
All right, so the meeting was for all of y'all who wanna know. It was at the Church of the Redeemer, Washington D.C. the last week of March, 1968. Okay, so King is talking about what he wants to do.
And you were there.
I was sitting right there on the same row with Stokely.
So you've met Martin Luther King.
I didn't meet him.
Okay.
I'm sitting here. He's where that Coke machine is.
Understood.
No,
right there. That's
I never
15 feet.
I never touch him, but I'm looking
close
at
enough.
him. Yeah. I met Mrs. King, but never him.
Okay.
All right. So he's talking, and he had on a blue suit, a white shirt, some kind of blue tie, but it's the cufflinks that go. There was the gold watch and the cufflinks. Everybody was sitting there because we're sitting there looking at him, you know. And he's talking, and everybody's sitting there like, man, come on, marching. Nobody wants to march, man. Help us get some guns and some ammunition. What are you talking about? You setting our people up to get killed, man. Stop with all this same old strategy. Don't you have another strategy? What's wrong with you? So. And so when Stokely, and I call him Stokely because that's what I called him. By the time he was known as Kwame Ture, I was out of the struggle, married, and somewhere else. So when I say Stokely, it's not in disrespect or anything. That's how I knew him, okay? So anyway, Stokely stood up and said, man, come on. What are you doing? And the look on King's face, and I know it must have been a dagger to his heart because Stokely was his golden boy. That's his, you
That's
know.
his heart. That's his
Yeah, because there's many pictures of them marching together in Alabama. That's his boy. He was right beside him, you know. And he stood up like, man, what are you talking about? And King sat there and said, I must be consistent. When he said that, the whole room erupted. The room erupted. We jumped to our feet like, man,
Oh wow.
man, what's wrong with you? We jumped in unison. It was like somebody mashed the button. Everybody jumped up like a jack in the box. We just jumped up. Man, come on. We did. And we all jumped up, walked out. Just jumped up and walked out and left him sitting there. So as we jumped up, walked out and left him sitting there, I turned and looked over my shoulder, and I saw a broken man. I saw a heartbroken man. He was frustrated. He was hurt. He was dejected. That look on his face, it was as if, like, it was like, so this is
it. This is where we are with it.
The look on his face, he just sat there and like, wow. And for Stokely
to do that, it was almost like betrayal. It was almost for him.
That look, and I'm so glad. And I played that back in my mind. I played it back in my mind because I was so glad I turned to look in the court. I caught it. I just wish I had a camera. That look on his face told the story.
And then a week later, he was gone.
A week later, and let me tell you, okay, Google April 5th, 1968 press conference. There are two of them on YouTube. There is the 5-minute one and it's the 11-minute one. The 11-minute press conference, I was there. And I'm telling you, what Stokely said, they should have got me. They should have killed me instead of him.
That's what he
said. Because it's on. Yeah, he said they should have killed me instead of him because it's on now. You gotta hear it. You have to hear.
As a matter of fact, we might drop that in there.
You have to hear.
Yeah.
It was on. It was on.
So where did it go from there? So once King was assassinated, how did that affect Stokely?
Man, I thought the revolution was going to get started. I swear I did, because that day, man, because I was there 1 block from where it jumped off in D.C. Coming out of right there.
Main Street?
Coming up, jumped off at 14th and U.
Okay.
I came out of the Lincoln Theater right there at 13th and U.
Yeah.
A friend of mine had forced me to go see Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Why? I don't know. He was just hell-bent on me seeing that movie. I was like, man, I don't want to see this. He said, you're going. And so I'm sitting in there, and when we got out, we saw folks running toward us. We like,
What's going on?
What's going on? We heard glass breaking, and it had kicked off at the corner of 14th and U. There was a liquor store right there, 14th and U. Across the street was the Riggs Bank. Next to the Riggs Bank was People's Drug Store.
Yep.
So the window of that People's Drug Store had been busted out, and the liquor store had been busted, and people are running now down U Street from 14th Street toward 13th Street. Like, what in the world? So he said, stand right here. Don't move. Wait a minute. People trampling and hollering and screaming. And they said, King got killed. I said, what? God, King is killed? So it had got just that fast. It's like, poof.
And then from there.
Oh man, I'm telling you, they started shooting. Please don't say that.
Don't say riots.
Please don't.
What words should we
Please
use?
don't.
What words should we call it?
Okay. Let
break it down.
Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
The only people in the U.S. who ever rioted are white people. That's their expression when they win or when they lose.
Okay.
They riot. A riot is a expenditure of energy.
Okay.
Without any kind of political connotation to it.
Got it.
Our people rebel. Our people usually are responding to some type of political aggression. It's usually police. It's usually police.
Right.
So it's a response to something.
Versus
it's not
something.
mindless. A riot is mindless. White folks riot and they will burn up cars and stuff like that, and kill
And do whatever.
and kill black people. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me a time that black folks are going out and kill white folks.
Can't think of one.
So that's not a riot, is it?
Can't think of one.
Tell me when black folks are going out and burn down churches.
Can't think of one.
Okay, schools.
Can't think of one.
Funeral homes, libraries.
Yeah,
They don't
they
do that. But they go to Korean stores in the neighborhood or white folks stores. So it's not mine, is it?
It's intentional. It has.
Yeah. So if in fact a black business got burned down, it's because of their proximity
To something else.
to something else. No, it wasn't targeted.
Got it.
Okay. So until black folks go out marauding groups and say there's a white woman, let's hang her from a tree.
Yeah.
We
I
ain't
got
rioted
it. I
yet.
got it.
We
I got
we
it.
ain't done it yet.
And
Didn't
that-
even do it in Rodney King's time.
Didn't?
We haven't done, but that's what they do.
Yeah.
They kill little babies. They lynch. Did you know white folks lynch little babies, 2 years old and stuff? Lynch pregnant women, take the baby out, stomp it on the ground. Oh, that's who riots.
Yeah.
But they want to flip that on us. We haven't yet.
Change the narratives.
We respond to their aggression.
And so that's what was happening. The response was happening in '68.
The response, the response. It was the outrage. It was the outrage. I was. My parents both were teaching school at Raymond Elementary down at 10th and Spring Road, and they left my sister and I at home, and they told us, "Look, don't y'all leave the house, because we can't get y'all out of jail." We said, sure. Time they went out the door. I knew Stokely was going to be at Howard University. I had to be down there at Howard University. And I watched the brothers leave HU marching down 7th Street. Marching down 7th Street, going down toward Hex, going down out F Street, going up to DJ Kaufman. You don't know anything about DJ.
I know Hex though.
Uh-huh.
I know Woody's.
Okay.
People's Drill.
So they coming down 7th Street
I know
from
7th.
HU all the way down to F Street.
So downtown. Going downtown.
Yeah.
Okay.
They march. They mad. They mad.
So right there on that corner where you would have on 7th Street.
We left. We were on the quad. He was on the quad. He
Okay.
spoke on the quad that day.
Okay.
I left there and went over to the new school of Afro-American Thought, which was on the corner of 14th and W, between V and W on 14th Street, because I knew that's the place to be.
Okay.
You know, I got to be up in the
in the
mix.
middle.
You know,
There you go.
so I'm headed up there, and on the way up there, I saw Jack Blank Pontiac go up. Jack Blank's Pontiac was on the corner of 14th and Florida Avenue. That was a big car dealership on the corner of 14th.
It's there no more.
Yeah.
Gone. It was that.
Oh man, I saw the Safeway at 14th and Clifton burned down. I saw the Safeway at 14th and Park Road burned down. I saw all that 14th Street. I walked through it, saw all of that in flames. I saw all of that.
And so after.
I saw the shooting from Clifton Terrace out the windows at Clifton Terrace. I saw little boys, you know, 14th Street when it comes, 13th Street when it comes up to where Cardozo Hill is. Little brothers up there with bricks and rocks and bottles and stuff. And as the cars came to the top of the hill, they looked in there to see who was in there. And if you weren't,
They were throwing them bricks and bottles.
I saw that with my own eyes. I saw that day. That day was. I walked from 14th and W to my house at 14th and Colorado. There was no buses. They locked people in there. They locked people in the post office. They locked people in the Bureau of Engraving, the printing office. A lot of people got locked in their job. They couldn't go home. People worked for CNP Telephone. They got locked in. A lot of people couldn't go home.
So they locked down the city.
Yeah, was no phone service. We didn't have phones for a week because they figured if you could get on the phone and communicate.
So they shut it down that way.
I didn't even know that the bridges, I didn't know DC had drawbridges until that day. I didn't know
Right, like
Frederick
14th
Douglass,
Street and all of them.
the 14th Frederick Douglass Bridge went up. I didn't even know it could go up.
So that's how they kept people from going out. leaving
Going
the city.
across from southeast over. It was something.
I mean, this is. I mean,
It was
the story.
something.
This story is so fascinating.
It was something. It was something. Believe me, it was just incredible. And the martial law. What martial law means is that you cannot leave your property. That we had to stand on our front porch. Now I remember the troops with fixed bayonets walking down Kennedy Street. I remember my daddy calling us. Daddy woke us up that Saturday. Okay, King got killed. That was a Thursday or Friday. I get it confused. I think it was a Thursday evening. Yeah, it was a Thursday. So Saturday morning, Daddy said, "Y'all come here. You gotta see. Come here. Well, it must be about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning." And I heard the rumble, but I didn't know what it was. It was a line of tanks rumbling down Kennedy Street because they bivouacked up at the Carter Barron.
So coming down Kennedy Street, a line of tanks.
Yeah. Mayor Walter Washington got all of the white generals mad at him because they want a shoot to kill, and he refused. He wouldn't give it. He wouldn't give it. But they did arrest 14,000 people, held them
14,000.
at RFK Stadium and over DC Armory. Just held them just held them, 14,000.
Who was president? Johnson?
Nixon.
Nixon was president.
I think it was Nixon.
In 68?
Nixon. I'm trying to think.
Johnson.
April 68. Was it Johnson or Nixon?
I think it was
can't
Johnson.
remember. But the election was coming up. Because the election was coming up because RFK got killed 6 weeks later. He got killed 6 weeks later.
Kennedy was killed 63.
Yeah.
So this was Johnson's second term, right? Well, no, yeah.
Johnson didn't have no second term.
Well, it was his first term.
First term,
if you will,
yeah.
because he came in after Kennedy,
Yeah.
and then his first term.
Yeah. So I'm thinking. Yeah. It must be Johnson. I get confused.
Okay.
Well, okay. So what was my train of thought? What were we talking about?
You're talking about Kennedy, Johnson.
Okay, all right. So RFK got killed that June. So April was all king, and so May Stokely married Mira McKeever, and I went to the wedding and I got pictures.
Married.
Yeah, he married McKeever.
Okay.
He married McKeever the second week of May in New York, and I went. And I got pictures of that.
Well, you have pictures of that.
I got it on my phone right now.
I'm gonna have to come to the house. That's the bottom line. I'm gonna have to come to the house and get the food and everything.
Yeah.
So they got it cranked up back here now. Thank you so much, Mama Bear.
I got some stories.
I know you do. Listen, this is the first of our conversation because I want to listen and learn the things that I was never taught. And I tell people all the time that me coming to Africa has sparked my interest in wanting to learn more about my history in America.
I gotta tell you about Alex Haley.
So we're going to be continued. To be continued. This is why we need to sit in the feet of our elders and learn from them, because I could have gotten this from a textbook, from a video, and sitting one-on-one. I'm able to sit and listen and learn things that I just didn't know. So, all right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right.